What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Untold Stories Athlete Edition podcast. We are on episode 8 of the podcast, which is crazy. I feel like this has just flown by, and just getting to know the Baylor student athletes has been amazing. So for episode 8, I have Finn Bass here. Finn is on the men's tennis team, and I'm so excited for y'all to get to know him more about his sport and different aspects of his life. So Finn, I'm going to go over some of his accolades throughout the year. So in 2019, Finn went 9-3 in singles and 10-3 in doubles during his first collegiate season. In his 2020 to 2021 season, he went 15-3 in singles and 22-7 in doubles on the 2020-2021 season. He was 2021 Big 12 regular season champion and Big 12 tournament champion, and was the member of the 2021 NCAA finalist Baylor team, and helped the Bears earn their first number one overall ranking since 2005, which is a mouthful, and it is amazing. And then fall of 2021, he was ranked number 18 doubles pair by ITA, which means Intercollegiate Tennis Association, which was the national highest double ranking. So yeah, that is amazing. I love being able to talk about the student athlete accolades just to get a little recap of what they've done. But yeah, Finn, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So for me, the first thing I kind of talk about is why the student athlete chose Baylor.
Yeah, so I chose Baylor because I felt it was the best place for me to come and develop as a tennis player, as a person, get myself a great education, set myself up for, after my career. It just felt like home. It just felt right. The people, the coaches, my teammates, and I'm so glad that I'm here.
Yeah, and I know I should have mentioned this before, but Finn is actually from the United Kingdom, so you're my first foreign student athlete on the podcast, which I think is amazing. And I kind of want to dive into that. You know, how has that been the difference for you, like leaving the United Kingdom and coming to the United States? Yeah,
it's certainly a big change. I remember when I was, talking to colleges and thinking about coming, I was injured for a few months back in the start of 2018, and I wasn't ready to decide whether I wanted to continue playing pro or go to college and come to the States for the fall of 2018. So I deferred and made sure I gave myself, a lot of time to, make the right decision for myself. And then, ended up coming in the spring of 2019. But, being a tennis player, playing on like the international circuit, I've traveled, full time since I was 13. So being away from home is something that I'm very, accustomed to. So yes, it's a big change because obviously, it's a whole semester. It's several months. So, I'm going home, seeing my parents once or twice a year max. So that is very different rather than, being away for 2, 3, 4 weeks for tournaments and then going home. So it definitely was a big change.
Yeah, was there any like struggles that you went through whenever you first came in the spring of 2019 that you definitely have grown up in the past 4 years of being a student athlete from being away from home?
Honestly, nothing stands out. I've got to give credit to my teammates back then. They made me fit into the team really, really well. And I honestly just felt at home straight away. The coaches, my teammates, all my professors, everyone was so fantastic, helping me settle in, because it's not easy coming in, halfway through the school year in January. That often happens in tennis. I don't think it really happens in many other sports. And also that's, right into the start of our season. So, and we start, first week of January. So it can be really, really tough to kind of, acclimatize.
Yeah, and you said it's normal for tennis players to come into the spring semester. Do you know why that is?
Not really. Could be just a few various reasons. Maybe guys wanted more time like myself to make a decision whether they want to continue playing professionally or go to college, or maybe people were injured and they, just take a semester off and come back to, or come join college, healthy. It could be a number of reasons.
Yeah, no. And so whenever I was looking at your profile on the Baylor page, it was saying that you were out for maybe like a season and a half due to NCAA amateurism requirements. So can you touch up a little bit on that?
Yeah, so I had to sit out my whole freshman year. So the spring of 2019 and the fall of 2020, which was real tough. Prior to joining Baylor, we did know that it was kind of going to be 50-50 whether I was going to be eligible or not. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. They state it was for amateurism requirements, but honestly, I do not have the full answer as to why I had to sit out that whole year. And it was super tough. I mean, I'm a guy that loves to compete, so kind of having that taken away from me for a whole year and just training for a year was real tough to take.
Yeah, I feel like that is something that is like super difficult, especially how you just said like you love to compete and like trying to tell yourself all the time, just training and seeing your teammates go out and compete. You just have to be patient and things like that. Did that like teach you how to be patient, or were you already kind of patient in the moment?
That's a good question. What made it worse is I couldn't even travel as well with the team. So I was stuck at base the whole time, training. So yeah, that made it difficult. Seeing my teammates compete and obviously I couldn't even join them and cheer them on, even though I couldn't play. But honestly, the time went by pretty quick, and I obviously got to work on my game, a lot more than usual.
Yeah.
And I guess with every negative, there is a positive.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And I know competition is completely different than just training, but also just kind of understanding your timeline. So the first time you could have competed wouldn't have been spring of 2020.
Correct.
And that's when COVID hit.
Exactly.
So you probably had 1 to 2, 3 months of maybe competing a little bit, and then tennis was ripped away from you, right?
Yeah.
So can you talk about that experience?
Yeah, so it was kind of a double whammy. Obviously, so that first year, freshman year, sitting out was tough, and then, we were getting underway with the 2020 season in the spring, and I think it was mid-February or end of February, everything got shut down. I think it was just after we competed in Wisconsin for the national indoors. We were going well, and just next minute, season's just gone from us, and no one had any idea what was going to go on. Especially the seniors felt real bad for them because they didn't know if they were going to ever play again, because we didn't know if you could get a fifth year again, and there were a lot of moving parts, and it was a pretty emotional time, especially for us because we were really getting into the swing of things, and we play a lot of matches in the spring. To have that taken away was tough.
Yeah. You got to go home, I'm guessing, right?
Yep.
And whenever you went home, did you find more positives in it with COVID? So for me, when COVID hit, I mean, of course I was like, man, this sucks because track was taken away as well in 2 or 3 months. But when I was home, I really just kind of reevaluated myself with my family and things like that. So I didn't know if maybe that was kind of the same thing whenever you went home.
Yeah, for sure. There was one big positive of COVID was, I got to spend a lot of time at home with my parents. I'm an only child, so obviously I miss them and they miss me when I'm out here. So I think I was home for 4 months, which is like the longest I've kind of ever been home since I was, real young. So just to spend quality time with them was something that was really special, and I could work on a few things personally. And, I was able to practice, which was good. It was special to me to, be at home, sleep in my own bed and be with my family for those few months.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And I'm glad that you're able to get through that and come back to Baylor, and now you're competing and you're doing amazing. And the Baylor men's tennis team is great. And one other thing that I saw from your profile, actually, in an article, is you quoted and said, "I'm someone that feeds off of a lot of energy and a lot of noise." So what if there's not a lot of energy or noise? Does that actually affect you?
No. people who know me, I get myself pretty pumped up and fired up. I'm a competitor. I love competing. But the more pressure I'm under, the more people that are watching, cheering me on, it just makes the whole experience a lot more fun and positive. And, you know, I definitely feed off more energy and more people, you know, supporting. Yeah,
no, I think that's cool. What are some ways that you like to pump yourself up?
I'm pretty vocal on the court.
Yeah.
A lot of come-ons, a lot of fist pumps. Other than that's about it. But yeah, you'll see some good pictures. I gotta say, props to our photographers at our matches. They've been getting some good pictures of us and myself this season. And you know, by those you can see, you know, how into it I get.
Yeah, no, I follow the men's tennis Baylor page, the Baylor men's tennis page. And the first picture I saw last night was of you. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love that. And I'm so excited that I get to interview him because of his energy. And then I saw in the article, that's exactly what it said. And I think even for me too, when I'm competing, you know, the energy and the people around me is super helpful, even at practice. So like at practice, are your teammates always having that same energy for you?
Yeah. You know, at practice, it's obviously not the same as competing.
Yeah.
But we try to, you know, bring good energy in our practice sessions, you know, spur each other on, demand, you know, a lot from each other. Because obviously the more energetic we are, the better practices are. And also we want to practice how we want to play in matches. So, you know, closing that gap between your practice level and match level is something that's really key.
Yeah. No, I think that's really cool. And I think tennis, I mean, this could be an assumption. Is tennis bigger in Europe?
I would say so. Well, definitely, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's very popular in the States, but I think it ranks around 8th or 9th most popular sport.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Whereas, you know, countries like Italy or France, tennis is huge.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know, up there in the kind of, I guess, below soccer, or as we say, football.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's right up there.
Yeah, so. And how was that transition from competing in a country where your sport is pretty big to coming somewhere that, like you just said, it's 8th or 9th ranked as a sport?
Yeah, it's I guess it's a little bit different. Obviously, when you're competing with the American sports, so you know, football, basketball, baseball, who all earn, you know, revenue for the school, whereas we don't. It can be a little bit difficult getting as many fans in, and maybe, you know, getting the recognition. But I have to say we have a fantastic following behind Baylor men's tennis. Great support, especially last night. I mean, it was phenomenal. So yeah.
Yeah, and which last night y'all defeated, what was it, ranks number 9? Texas, which beating Texas just is always really nice, for sure. And I think a lot of people, including myself, don't know a lot about tennis. And if you could just like talk about a little bit of like what tennis is, I don't know if that's kind of like hard to explain, but I think that's like really important for people to know about these other sports that are just as important, just to know like the basics of what they are.
Yeah. So like tennis itself, or how it works, like how our matches work?
Probably like tennis itself. I don't know. Like you don't have to be like, oh, there's one player. Well, actually, you could talk about the singles and the doubles. Yeah. That's kind of confusing. Yeah. Especially like with how Baylor works like that.
Yeah. So obviously, tennis itself is an individual sport. But when you come to college, it's a team sport. So it's a completely different dynamic. And it's, you know, something extremely fun to play with teammates by your side. As, you know, an individual sport is something that's super special. So yeah, when we play our matches, we have 3 doubles pairs, 1, 2, 3. We play 1 set to 6, and as soon as you win 2 out of the 3 doubles matches, you get 1 point. And then there's like a 5-minute break, and then you'll have 6 singles matches, all playing at the same time, 1 through 6. And each singles match is also worth 1 point. So there's 7 points up for grabs in a dual match. And obviously, if you win 4 of those 7 points, you clinch.
Okay. And I didn't even think about, tennis, of course, being an individual sport. I knew that, but I didn't even think about like when you come to a college, you're working with other people to try to get those points. So how was that transition for you, maybe working individually by yourself all the time to now joining a team?
Yeah. So obviously, like I said, tennis is very individual. There are a few times where you do play in a team. So that would be me, representing Great Britain, for instance, people representing their own home countries, or you can play for like club teams in tennis. But other than that, it's, you're all by yourself. So coming to college it's just a special environment to, compete with your teammates, do it for the coaches, the rest of your teammates. It's not just yourself. If you're having a bad day, you want to stay out on the court as long as you can or compete, because, it might not be your best, but you could influence, your teammates who are to the right or left of you. And if you ask every tennis player, because it's an individual sport, they will always say that they love playing team tennis because it's just so rare.
Yeah. No, I think that's awesome. And I think it's really cool to see how probably you personally can like build with other people to then feed off of other people whenever you're performing, which is awesome. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And so for the last part of the podcast, I post on like the Sikkim 365 forum, and then on Instagram, people asking questions. Mm-hmm. So I actually have a good amount. So my first one, Lily Williams and JT Woods actually both asked this. They said, how do you feel like tennis is in Europe compared to America? Which I feel like we did kind of touch up on that a little bit.
We did a little bit. There's certain European countries where obviously tennis is culturally a lot bigger than it is in the States here. I really don't know how to answer that question in more detail because it's still a big sport here.
Yeah.
I really can't.
That's okay. I think it's interesting because I feel like people would think there is a big difference between tennis in Europe and tennis in America, but you play tennis and you played in both areas. So there you go. I think that's an okay answer. So then for my next one, I think you know this person, Freddie Cinda.
Yeah.
Okay.
My cousin.
Okay. There you go. He said, how has it been being away from the best family ever?
Thank you, Freddie. And they are the best family. It's obviously tough. Like I said earlier, it's something that I've gotten used to from a young age, but that still doesn't make it any easier. Obviously I miss my family and my parents because I don't get to see them that often, or be at home with my dog, who I miss. But luckily I had this Christmas with my parents in Colorado and my aunt who lives there, and we had a great 2 weeks doing some skiing and stuff.
Wow.
So that was super nice.
And what's the time difference between here and the UK?
6 hours.
6 hours. Wow. And I think an hour difference is a big difference. So I could only imagine 6 hours, but I thought that was really cool that someone in your family asked a question. Okay. And this comes from Sikkim 365. This is Good News Bear. He asked, what is your favorite tennis memory before coming to Waco, like growing up and then as a Baylor Bear?
Oh, that's a good question. Favorite tennis memory before Baylor? Probably playing junior Wimbledon.
Wow.
A couple times. Just playing your home Grand Slam on grass courts at Wimbledon in front of your home crowd was something super special.
Yeah.
And then as a Baylor Bear, I can't discount last year's, NCAA final run, winning the Big 12, beating Texas last night. I would say those are probably my top three.
That is so cool that you've gone to experience all those things in your, how old?
22.
22? That is amazing. I think, oh my gosh, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say anything like that. And it's so cool that you've gotten to grow back at home and then coming here and making this program amazing. So I think that's really cool. Alrighty, and then Jack, the best producer ever, asked, what is your most satisfying shot in tennis?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm a pretty powerful player. I would say either my forehand or slice backhand.
Or slice.
Yeah.
That's just like a backhand?
It's a backhand, but with a certain spin on it. So you like cut the ball and it stays low.
Wow. I played racquetball once, so I know forehand and backhand, but I know it's a big difference. Alrighty, so my last question comes from Michael. Oh, your coach, your head coach, Michael Woodson.
Yep.
Did I say that right? He said, do you prefer drumming or surfing? And he said you're a stud at both. So which one do you prefer?
Yeah, well, my 3 favorite hobbies are drumming, surfing, and playing golf. That's almost impossible to answer, so thank you, Woody. I'm going to go with drumming.
Drumming?
Yeah.
When did you start getting into that?
I think I was around 5.
Wow.
5 or 6. And I have a nice little electric kit in my room here. And I've been playing pretty much every night this spring.
Wow, that is so cool. I think having like those 3 different, like those are such different hobbies. Like golf is, I'm going to make people mad. Golf is just very chill. How about that? Surfing is, I don't know, a lot is going on. I can never surf, but like balance and things like that. And drums, I mean, wow, you're such an interesting person. I love that. And then that could probably help you like get away if you're ever like just stressed from tennis.
Exactly. Like, yeah. So drumming is the only time where I never think about anything. So it's just super nice to have that one thing in my life that, you know, no matter what I'm going through, good or bad, you know, nothing's going through my head and I'm just in the moment.
And it's been like that since you started drumming?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's really cool. Well, I love that. Cool that I got to know that about you. Well, thank you again. You were amazing. I think it was so cool, you know, getting to know your life from living in the UK to coming to Baylor and being a Baylor Bear, which, like I said, they're probably so fortunate to have you. And I didn't realize that, you know, you didn't play for a season and whenever you started, COVID hit. So like, that's crazy that you've been through that, but now you're here and you're doing amazing things. So I'm super excited for the rest of y'all's season and what's coming in the future. And if you want to listen or watch the podcast, you can go to Sikkim 365. I will post a link on there for both. And then you can go to the YouTube at the Untold Stories Athlete Edition and then on Spotify with the same title. Thank you.